This is Motivation. I'm Lori Joy Kingwell.
And I'm Chrissy Van. We're two dreamers on two wheels inspired by our community.
And celebrating the voices we're just lucky enough to discover along the ride. So if not already, like, subscribe, follow along, do what you gotta do to not miss an episode. In today's episode, we're talking about the motivated mindset. A motorcycle, it requires fuel. You can't go anywhere without it. The same is true for our lives. Simply put, what motivates you is what fuels your life, moving you in the direction you want to go. It allows us to change our behaviors, grow our interests, work towards our goals, and it ultimately our purpose, which each and every one of us has. It creates the opportunity to travel to our dream destinations in our lives.
So today we're talking all things motivation, along with some of the very common misconceptions and misdirections of motivation that many of us fall into on the regular, myself included. And at the end, we're going to have your motivation maintenance. That's a tool that you can integrate into your life today to create positive change. This is the motivation.
So Chrissy, when we're talking about motivation, I have to start with my misunderstandings about motivation. For the vast majority of my existence on earth, I did have a very, very skewed understanding of motivation. And it might be something that a lot of people will hear and think, oh yeah, that's kind of how I thought of it too. And if it is, this will be, and hopefully will be a game changer for you. So I thought of motivation as like an either or. You were motivated or you weren't. You hear that saying a lot of times, I'm just not motivated to do it. Almost like willpower. And it's not. Motivation is something that is in every choice that we make in a day. Every choice. So the example that I'm going to use today was like an alarm clock. The alarm clock goes off in the morning, you hit snooze or you get up. If you hit snooze, you have a reason behind that. Something is motivating you to hit snooze. That's to get more sleep. If you got up just now, what's motivating you is to start your day or because you don't want to be late. But what's motivating you is a reason. There is a why behind everything that we do. There's something that is motivating every choice that we make. And that why is something that is the key to everything that motivates our day. And we're motivated all day long. But the things that are motivating us, there's so much of that that's happening in our subconscious. And then we're just kind of going along for the ride, because we haven't really looked at our why. We haven't really broken it down. And the component that pulls it all together is the empowerment to even understand that we have a choice and that we are motivated. We're just not using it for ourselves. We're just not using it to our benefit. We're not using it to expand on ourselves or self-reflect. We're not using it for self-love. We're not using it for compassion. All these different elements that we could be moving in a very different direction in our life, a lot easier than we think, than this concept of willpower or I'm just not motivated. I promise you, you are motivated. You're just subconsciously motivated in a way that isn't serving you. And this empowerment is behind the fact of understanding and knowing it, but then also the confidence to say, oh, not only do I understand it, but I'm going to choose it. And then having the ability to break it down and choose for yourself of where even to begin. And it's the perfect segue into why it is we're doing this podcast in the first place, is surrounding not only the why, but the empowerment of where to begin, the confidence to begin moving in a direction in your life you want to go.
Yeah, I mean, it has been an absolute journey, and I find the timing is so not lost on me of when you and I have finally culminated together in our own separate life journeys to bring this message of motivation to life, to try and inspire others to live a more motivated lifestyle toward their goals, because I don't think there's a time in the world that we've needed this more collectively, because we feed off each other. And I know that we always talk about how we are a collective. It's a symbiotic transfer of energies. So how do we tap into that energy that literally you feel so deep inside and in your spirit? So rewinding, and I know that we each have a personal story, but my motivated journey started at such a young age. I'll talk about it on the podcast here and there. I don't use my past to define who I am in the present. However, my past is certainly part of my story of what's created this present being that knows myself in a way that I didn't decades ago. But most of my advice came from a man that was on a time limit. My dad was quite ill growing up, and he knew that he wasn't always going to be here. And for some reason, he was just the most optimistic individual, but not in a way that's blinded to the struggles of the world, but in the way of knowing to tap into life, knowing that life has a time limit. This present moment is all we have the promise of, this moment that you're sharing with all of us. And that message and that spark has been a common theme throughout my journey. Fast forward now to this motorcycle community that I entered 2 years ago. And that is where the empowerment came from. All of a sudden, you had all these people showing up in their lives that were motivated to hop on a bike, to learn a skill that can be scary and can be risky, and it's raw. And that is the energy that really, Lori, you and I have tapped into over the last couple of years, is this beautiful community that really shows up in such a way that is so real and rooted into the basis of humanity. I've never had it where I've showed up at a destination and people have showed up so authentically as who they are. It's funny to me that we wear armor, but the minute you park that bike and it's on the kickstand, the armor is off and you are meeting people in their truest sense of the word. And anyone that's been part of this community knows that to be true. And so I'm so grateful for that journey, because that has motivated me to finally share this message that I believed in my entire life. Lori, you and I now have spent several months working together to figure out the tools that we have used to keep ourselves intrinsically motivated to be on a path of personal growth and to be in a path of truly who we are. And that is what the Motivation Podcast is all about. It's about providing quite literally that fuel, because we do need to feed off of each other to help us have the tools and be equipped for living our life the way we want to design it, because we deserve that. And for some reason, we forget that in the world. There are so many distractions in the world that, exactly as you were saying in your intro there, all of a sudden, the motives that we're using aren't the right ones that are going to get us where we want to go. And so talk about a passion project that cuts deep. Like, it's real, it's raw, it's personal, and it is empowering. And it's not that you and I singularly have all the tools to put us on the path. The thing that's beautiful is we have this incredible community that's not afraid to show up and be real. And these are the voices that we're tapping on in this journey to help deliver that message and get us all that feeling of empowerment to refuel on the days where you just think you can't, or you've slipped in the wrong direction.
There's so many personalities and there's so many stories. And I think that's what brings us all together, is our stories. And, if you will, the trials and tribulations that is being a human being. But there's so many different perspectives in our community. There's so many different upbringings. There's so many different identities. There's so many different ways that everyone is living as much as possible in their truth. And by collectively coming together, there's been such, again, using the word, but it's the truth, is the empowerment around who are you, what it is that you're doing and why it is that you're doing it. You have to have a real why to jump on a motorcycle. You have to. It's scary. It's very intimidating, the thought of it and the understanding. There's a lot of risk involved. There has to be a why. There has to be a draw towards taking that risk. And so that's in itself an element that have obviously brought us together. But being together and having essentially the why chasers, digging
I love
deeper.
that, the why chasers.
Yeah, digging deeper, asking questions, not just going along with if we just went along with what was expected of us women wouldn't be on the motorcycles in the first place. And I use women hopefully inclusively. I mean it inclusively. And to be able to have this opportunity and this platform that we're creating to share this with as many people as possible, not just with the motor community, but with people, in hopes that they'll hear something, or they'll hear a representation of themselves, or they'll hear a story that resonates or kicks up the dust in you, that asks yourself, why am I doing what am I doing? Or even, why aren't I doing something different? Or why am I not attempting to step into that? And recognizing that there is risk in everything, but there's a beautiful risk with a beautiful reward on the other side of it. When we talk about that motivation and you break down and get back down into the whys, it also helps you to get through those more difficult things. Because if you have a why behind it, you're not searching for this willpower motivation type mirage. There's a pull towards it. Every time I get on my bike, I properly gear up. I hate being cold. I wear a lot of layers. It is a whole thing. To get dressed, I am like a 15 to 20-minute gal to get all my merino wool on, my armor, everything to get on this ride. That's a lot of work in itself just to go for this ride, but it's worth it because I know my why. I know what's on the other side of it. So I don't hum and haw and go, I'm just not motivated to get geared up. I can't wait to get geared up. That's just one thing that I got to do that's not the most enjoyable, but I barely pay attention to it because I'm so propelled towards the bigger why. Now picture going on a week-long trip, or when I'm on the road for 2 weeks and I have to unpack my bike every stop. I have to or every overnight stop. I have to re-gear up. You just don't even think about it because that why is so clear, and you know what it brings to your life, that all of the little steps that are along the way that aren't exactly the most enjoyable are a blip on the radar. So I'm not looking for the willpower or the old school way of thinking of motivation to get through that. And I think that's what, to pull it back to our community and why we're doing this, is like, if you don't already have something that you are propelled towards, even just hearing these voices of something that's ignited in within them, you're going to start looking around yourself to see if the motor community isn't necessarily my thing, what is, who is? Because part of being together, and this is down to the psychology of it and how we work collectively as human beings and how we're made to, thus why we've always kind of come into, tribes. We are meant to help each other through this all. We are meant to inspire. We are meant to empower. We are meant to tell stories. Thus why stories carry over generation to generation to generation. And this is just our little opportunity to hopefully create a big change by sharing the voices that we've come across and also sharing our own journey to say, take what you want from it. Fill your bucket. Pick and choose what works and doesn't work. But this is like, we're showing you the open book that we've been privileged enough to experience over the past few years of being part of this community. And I think that's just, there's nothing more motivating than that.
It's true though. And what you're speaking to is the ripple effect we hope to achieve.
Yeah.
The thing is, think about when you are surrounded by someone that is fueled with motivation and making those positive changes in their life and using their mindset as a tool to propel them. It's infectious. And so this is where we want to make this collective hive mind through our storytelling, through the storytelling of others, because as your ears are tuned in and listening, maybe there's a message that you take with you. And now all of a sudden you have this mindset shift that's motivated toward another direction. You share it with another individual. Being equipped with that type of life skill can literally branch out to your personal relationships within your household family, but on a broader scale into your community. It is just like casting a stone in the water. It's going to leave ripples and ricochets, and think how far those travel. And I'm sorry, through the past year, there has been such a level. I remember at the beginning of March 2020, where you did feel everyone in this collective group together trying to show each other this sense of community. I know in Vancouver, for example, the 7 p.m. cheer was this powerful moment nightly where we all were supporting each other. And even just the simple clapping of hands together, I think so many people can attest there was a very strong feeling of connection. And somewhere down the line, months into this huge world experience that we're going through together, we have lost that. There is a division. There is negativity on either side of the equation of however you feel about the current situation in the world. And that is why these voices, what we share, is so important. That is why what you have to share that really is a positive contribution to our fellow society is more important than ever, because otherwise what you're drawing in is something that's not going to fuel your soul. I promise you that. I promise you that. You have probably had days where you have literally felt that, where you've taken in just this negative vibe, whether it be from social or an interaction now that we're seeing daily on our streets because people are just so frustrated. You have to reconnect with your why, but it's not always easy to do it on your own. You need the empowerment, you need the motivation of others to help continue driving in that direction, feeling that way, because at the end of the day, there's only so much that can come from the inside of you. We are incredible humans. I am always amazed. I mean, we talk about our bodies of avatars. We are complex individuals with all these incredible features, but how much are we really tapping into the soul? And that is what this is. That essence of your why. How often do you let yourself be distracted from your why? How often are you reconnecting with your why? Because that's what you should be funneling all your actions through. Motivation is turning thoughts into actions. Feed yourself with those good thoughts, those positive thoughts that are going to give you the positive results and the positive actions.
We spend so much time playing catch up in a day versus preparing ourselves for a day. When you talk about the ripple effects of one type of thinking or your why that ripple effects into the other areas, or even that aspect of not engaging in certain mindsets or not engaging in that negativity sort of thing. One thing that changed everything for me was the book, Miracle Mornings. Now, there's a few different types of books around this, but essentially the concept is you wake up substantially earlier than anyone else or anything before your to-do list begins for the day. So I don't know what time that looks like for you. Me personally, I wake up at 5. Now, if you're like, you're out of your goddamn mind, there's no way I'm waking up that. I would have said the same thing to you. There's no way I could do it. There's no way. I've used to have to wake up early for work. I was exhausted all the time. No way. Here's the difference. When my why changed around why I was waking up that early, everything changed. My energy changed. My ability to wake up this early has changed. Now, when I wake up with a purpose for that next hour, and I fill that hour with everything that I know is going to set my mind and my body up for success for the day, or as much as possible. Doesn't mean I walk around as this gigantic success. I fuck up all throughout the day, don't get me wrong, but I do much better in this life than I did prior. So I do things like set my intention for the day. How do I want to feel about the day? Do I want to feel optimistic? Do I want to feel appreciative? What do I want to feel? So I start out with just even gratitude. I write down a couple things I'm thankful for. It can be as simple as this cozy little blanket that I'm under. It doesn't have to be huge things. Sometimes you can write huge things. I do a slight guided meditation. I stretch my body. I have my coffee, like something that I love to do in my morning. I set everything up. So at the very beginning of my day, my why is there. And then I take a look at how I want to feel about my day, even though I might have to do things I don't necessarily enjoy doing, but I can still be okay with it. I can focus on the fact that this is just a means to an end, or this is just part of it, or I get to practice patience by being in traffic. Let's say that, right? Where I used to be the angriest driver alive. But here's the thing. When stuff crops up in your day that catches you off guard or on the blind side, you have set and primed yourself in a way that on the tip of your conscious mind and on your why is that how am I going to think and feel about this? Therefore, how I'm going to respond to this. So my motivation is happening regardless. But if I am proactive and I prime my brain, if I prime my nervous system, I'm working with myself versus just being along for the ride. Because when I don't do those things, I'm in a subconscious state of mind. My thoughts are all over the map, because if I'm priming at the start of my day, I can catch it. I can catch those moments that I start maybe becoming negative. I can catch those moments when I start blaming other people. I can catch those moments where I think, I don't feel like it. Well, you don't feel like it. Well, let's take a look at my why. What is your why? And I've gotten clear about my why. And then all of a sudden I think about my why. I end up feeling like it. So I haven't tried to like bundle up motivation. I just thought about my why and it compelled me towards it. And then if that doesn't move me, I'm not that clear about my why. And I got a little homework to do. And I can punch that into my miracle morning, and I can do that little bit of homework or before bed. Bedtime's a great time to prime your brain as well. But when you talk about the ripple effect, don't chase it down. Oh, I shouldn't have done that. I should have done this instead. And prime yourself, get ahead of it. And then also when you do not show up in your best way, you're just like, all right, because you've also primed compassion for yourself. So you're also not smashing yourself over the head because I wasn't perfect in that moment. Because guess what? You're probably not going to be, but you probably will be a lot more progressive and better than you were the last time. That's more of a something than the perfection that you're seeking, kind of thing, if that makes sense.
It definitely does, Lori. And you touch on something as well that's so important that people may not realize. But if you are connected to that why and purpose, which ultimately that is the link of motivation, knowing that so clearly is also going to be the number one thing that combats fear. So even just that, right? That fear of you not showing up in the right way, or that fear of maybe it is a lofty goal. Knowing your why is going to be the hammer that breaks through the fear wall, because the fear wall guaranteed is always going to be there. And it may be slowly getting constructed, or you might have just built a condo out of the gate. And it happens. It happens. And it happens to all of us. Like Lori, you and I know even on this journey, there's moments where you're like, uh-oh, the construction workers are out. Like, can we do this? And your mind goes in a million different directions. But being so wholeheartedly connected to that why and that purpose and that intention is literally like taking a sledgehammer to your fear. And if it doesn't, it's exactly what you said, Lori. Then you are not clear. You need to do more reflection and become more clear and more connected to what that is for you. Because you said it at the very beginning in the intro. And I know that there's a lot of people that are feeling low, but I cannot express this enough. Every single human has a purpose. And thank God they're not all the same fucking purposes, because that is the beauty of this earth, is that we are literally a mosaic from all different experiences. That is what creates what you are able to bring to the table. So mine is not going to be the same as yours, Lori. It's not going to be the same as anyone else in our community. And that's why it's so important for you to do this work and find what that is for you, because we can't wait to see it. Like I love when people have that aha moment and then you just see them fly and soar. And that's generally because they have become so connected to what they are looking to accomplish, what their intention is, and they are able to move past the things that stop us. Because statistically, fear is a huge, huge deal breaker or destructive tool to many of our life trajectories. Some people stay locked in fear for all the decades of their lives. And we have this gift, this moment. You are here. Look around. Wherever you are listening, look around and realize, I mean, trust me, I am literally sitting in a pile of like, there's dirty laundry in front of me and all this randomness holed up on my bedroom bed. But at the same time, if I look out the window and I see all the fresh spring blossoms, like the beauty of the rain on the window, even the fact that I'm able to have the gift of having a pile of dirty laundry, there is much to be here and live for, and much for you to connect to and realize that this is life and it is worth living. Like that is my major thing with this podcast, is to have people literally tap in to what resonates so deeply to your core and not be afraid to bring that to the forefront. Because I spent many years, obviously, I've made a career out of talking, and it's the first time I feel like I'm sharing myself, and that's what I'm supposed to do. And I find it so funny, Lori, going back when you hear our intros or you hear your trailers, we had a fascinating conversation a couple times because I will put on my voice of presentation because that's what I use every day for work. And I had a deep think yesterday after you and I were chatting, and I was like, it's funny that represents so much on a big level. I've never had created the opportunity for myself to peel the layers and just be me. And here it fucking is. And it's terrifying in the best way.
When you talk about the fear factor, Chrissy, that's why people will pay money to go watch movies for the hero's journey or the underdog story, is because we all see that and we want that for ourselves. But then when it comes to putting it into action, we're like, too scary. That shit's scary. I feel like I'm going to puke. I'm going to poop my pants. That shit is too much. And we retreat back in. And psychology puts it behind this. There's the two way of thinking about the sex searchers. That's a whole nother podcast.
Can't wait for that one.
Right? Can't wait for that one. The success seekers or the failure avoiders. And essentially we hop and we're all one and the same because we've all got it in us. And it depends. And that's where, again, that empowerment comes back. And the psychologist, he's from Stanford University, Albert Bandura, he says it breaks down the empowerment, the part to get over the fear factor and get clear, or the part to move through the fear factor. I shouldn't say just get over, move through. I guess it's the same thing. But the three components is, can I do it? Is it possible? And at the end of the day, everything is possible, but it's really like, can I do it? Of like really asking yourself, can I do it? Can I get the resources to do it? Can I get the knowledge to do it? Can I generate the skill set to do it? Can I, if my why gets clear enough, can I do it? The second is, will it work? If I do all those things, will it work? And the other component is it worth it? And that's where that why of like, picture it, whatever it is. And it's, again, the small little steps that look like in your day, to what builds up into your week, to what builds into your months, to what builds into the years, builds up your life. And when you look at what it is to what is worth your time, what is worth your energy, how do you want to feel about yourself? Actually think about that. What would it be like? Would that be worth it to feel that way about yourself? Not have a stranger be like, oh, you are great. You are this. And be like, yeah, I wish I saw it for myself. What if you looked in the mirror and you were like, look at you, you worthy, beautiful human, and you actually felt it? Would it be worth getting up at 5 a.m. and prepping and priming? Would that, to genuinely look in the mirror and love yourself, or not even needing your reflection, but feeling your soul and saying, oh man, what a glorious experience, even in the hardest moments. The fact that I'm here to even experience suffering or experience fear is a blessing in itself. Because I know a lot of people that have passed on that would give anything to feel fear again. Anything. They would take that. And is that worth it? And if you really, really get to that thought, suddenly everything else you've been doing is like, what the fuck have I been spending my time on? What have I been wasting my time on? And to bring it back around, really and truly, of this podcast, is we want to share as many voices as possible and give as many examples from our own experience as possible to crack that door open, crack that window open up just enough for you to start asking of yourself, what am I doing and why am I doing it? Because the world's keeping us very distracted on purpose to keep us from asking these things. And it is our responsibility to connect to one another and have real grassroots conversations. What are we doing and why are we doing it? Because what the hell else are we here for? It sure as hell is not to stand in a line to buy a new pair of pants. It's sure as hell not to get lost on Instagram, comparing myself to some skinny, flawless body face. That is not why I'm here. And that is not why you are here. And this is what this podcast is all about. And to have really, there's also parts of our podcast is just to laugh our asses off, talk about some funny shit. So there's that too. So we're not just all about the serious stuff. We're going to do Rochelle.
Off-roading.
Yeah, with Rochelle, with True Grit. And I'm sorry, one of the funniest humans I've met. So get ready for that stupid shit we're bringing to you. But this portion will be some laughs, but a lot is walking away feeling like you're closer to a why within you, not our why, but your why.
I love it. Now, one other thing people can expect from the Motivation Podcast is each episode, we will provide your motivation maintenance. This is a tool that you can use today based on what we talked about that you can implement into your life to create that positive change. So with the motivated mindset, Lori, what should people work on?
All right, this is my tool tip to get started. Think of a feeling that you want to feel more of in your day. So say it's joy. Joy is a great one, not just because it's my middle name, because it's a great one.
It's such a great middle name.
It's such a great middle name. Yeah. Thanks to my gran. But anyway, take something a feeling that you want to have more of, an experience you want to have more of, and write down all the things that bring you joy. And then all the things that don't bring you joy as well, and see if you can start substituting some of those out in your day. Does Instagram actually bring you joy? Does having a long bath or a long walk or dancing in your living room bring you joy? And you swap. So instead of hopping on your Instagram, you swap that with dancing in the living room, or you swap that with the hot bath. But you start asking yourself the why. Why am I doing this? Does this fit with how I want to feel around my day? So find a feeling you want to feel more of in your day. Think of things that make you feel that way. Plug them in to areas that you're doing other shit that ain't fueling your soul. That's my tidbit.
That is a fabulous tidbit. My number one would be subscribe to this podcast.
Oh,
but that's not actually your tool.
What a shameless plug. I love it so much.
I had to do it.
Do it immediately, though. For real, though. Do it immediately.
Right now. But aside from that, this actually pairs really well with your motivation maintenance. But I would like you to do a reflection exercise. So depending on what time you're listening, maybe it's at the end of this day, or you look back on the day that you had yesterday, but hop open your journal, put a little key points about the activities that you did, and search for the whys. What were your motivators for those choices that you took in your day? And if you're coming up short on whys that were actually propelling you forward, you're going to start identifying those elements that you can replace with those moments of joy that you're doing in Lori's exercise. But I think it's really important to take pause and have reflection on how you're like a life audit, essentially, to take a look back and think, how have I been spending my time? Am I focused on where I'm going? Am I fueling with the right tools? And you're going to quickly identify that there is space to start moving you toward where you want to go. Because as you mentioned through the podcast, Lori, so many distractions. And we're so used to it, you might not even realize how entrenched you are in those distractions. So doing a life audit exercise is really going to help you see the path forward and the opportunities in your present. And if we're lucky enough, the gift of our tomorrows.
All right. Well, last but not least, we do a quote at the end of every episode to send you on your way. Chrissy, what's your quote, girl?
So my quote today is from the famous inventor, Thomas Edison. And I love this one just because I think of how much work or how many attempts I personally had in creating a journey of this podcast that so wasn't meant to happen until I met you, Lori. And I see that so much now. And I'm so grateful and full of gratitude for you. But
right back at you.
He's, of course, known for the invention of the light bulb and is noted for this quote: "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." And I just love that so much.
Oh, I love that. All right. Mine is: the secret of change is to focus all of your energy, not on the fighting of the old, but on the building of the new. That is Socrates. And that, folks, is your motivation. You've just listened to the Motivation Podcast with your host, Chrissy Van, and me, Lori Joy Kingwell.
Thanks for joining us along the ride. We've got new episodes dropping every Monday, and we're all about community. So follow us on Instagram at Motivation Podcast and visit our website at themotivation.com.
And in the meantime, tanks full and full throttle.